This show is about your mental health. While it's supported by the pillars of positivity and hope, if you find yourself in crisis, please reach out for help. In many communities in both the United States and Canada, you can dial 211 to be connected to mental health and crisis services in your region. While it may seem like it at times, you are not alone. Evening, everybody. Hope things are going well. We are well into December, are we not? And don't forget, all December, we're trying to get you ready for the holidays, get your mental health ready for the holidays. Now, I will tell you, though, out of all the mental health issues that I have come across, I have never found one as serious as the one we're going to talk about tonight, and that is loneliness. I will tell you, the more I researched this week, the more I got into it, the more it blew my mind how serious loneliness is. And we know this Christmas is going to be a really tough one, so we need to know about this so that we can try and combat it. How serious is loneliness? Let me tell you. A former Surgeon General of the United States, his name is Vivek Murthy, had quoted a study, and I checked out the study, it's legit, that loneliness has the same impact on your physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It will increase your chance of an early death by 26%. That's loneliness. That just blew me away. And then I get a message like this from someone this week. Now, I'm not going to use her name or his name or whoever's name or where they work, but they do work in long-term care because I don't want to get them in trouble. This isn't the only person I've heard this from this week as well. So here's the message I got. I work in long-term care. Our residents are dying at an alarming rate, not due to COVID or any specific illness, but due to loneliness. Where we are, they can't see family members, only virtually, which is definitely not the same. We can't gather in groups of more than 5 people at a time. We can't have outside people in the building, such as entertainers or choirs. They have no joy right now. We as staff do try our best, but we are not family. The one thing, too, is you're saying, well, why don't we hear about this more? Well, loneliness is not listed as a cause of a sickness or death. It's just not. But you've heard of people dying of a broken heart, dying of loneliness. Loneliness has been linked to all sorts of diseases, and it hurries them along. It hurts our immune system. So when someone passes away, they may pass away of a heart issue, something like that, drug problems. However, the underlying cause is loneliness. That doesn't get put down anywhere. So it is essential that we need to wake up and realize how bad loneliness is. Now, when I told you about the Surgeon General making those comments, that was back during the Bush administration. Okay, so it's going back quite a few years. I can only imagine how bad loneliness must be now with COVID, with isolation, with a Christmas coming up that is just going to be so tough for so many people. Loneliness is something, though, that we can take care of. And that's what makes it sadder still. Now, it does raise all sorts of questions. You know, I want people to wear masks. I want us to follow the government guidelines wherever you are from, on isolation, on no large gatherings. But I can't help but wonder, is it doing more harm than good? Are more people dying of loneliness than dying of COVID? I bet you they are. I bet you they are. So the cure is worse than the disease. we need to look into this more and be aware of it. And I did a blog this weekend. If you want to go and take a look at it, it's thehappymolecule.com. Just go to the blog section. And it gives you some signs of loneliness. And out of all those signs, I think there were 10. I had 5 of them. Now, kind of scares me. However, okay, I'm aware now. And what's the saying? To be forewarned is to be forearmed. So I need to do something about it. But what can? So go to my blog if you want to see and read about some of the signs. So what can be done? Let's take a look at these things. First of all, recognize if loneliness is a problem for you. So that's where you need to go and take a look and see what some of the symptoms are. Realize being lonely these days is common and you can change things. So sometimes when you're lonely, you just feel like you're the only one who is lonely, right? You feel like you're the only one. Sad to say, you're not alone being lonely. Does that make any sense? Reach out. It's tough to always be on Zoom, isn't it? It's tough to always be on Zoom. But reach out. Call. Write anyone. Everyone in your address book. Well, they may be lonely too. You don't know. Volunteer. This is a good one. There's so many groups that need help right now. Working with others with proper distancing for the common good has an incredible impact on your mental health. Stay busy. Get a hobby. Read a book. Binge watching Netflix is not the answer. Sitting watching TV is not the answer. Get out into nature. Even if it's a parquet in the middle of a busy city, being in nature has proven revitalizing effects on your mind and your body. Let's get some of your comments here before we continue on. Here's my friend Shauna, fresh air on a 5K walk. Today helped me deal with the loneliness. It was kind of frigid here in Toronto. Let me see. It's not fair to people who are alone that it's the larger groups of people who have put us here. Let me see. Loneliness is why I enjoyed the isolators in this group so much. I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad that we can have this forum at least together. I know we're all in separate rooms in separate cities, some in separate countries, but at least this is as close as we can get together. Let me see. Hold on here. Let's see. I'm trying to get some more of these comments in. Let me see. We miss the human connection, but no one gets it unless you're on your own. Yeah, we definitely need that human connection. So as I've mentioned, all this December, we are talking about living with depression at Christmas, trying to improve your mental health. And so we continue to do that. And it may not seem like it. Kevin, you're just like freaking us out with this loneliness stuff here. Loneliness will kill you. Okay, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this because I want you to realize it, to open your eyes to the fact that you or someone you love or someone you know may be suffering from loneliness. And if you don't do something about it, it could make things worse, much worse. So let's recap. Loneliness, well, it aches in your heart, doesn't it? It's terrible being lonely. But it knocks your immune system for a loop. It can actually trigger sicknesses and diseases. And it is the cause so many times of drinking problems, drug problems, of people wanting to take their own life. That's what loneliness does, but we don't realize it. We just sing about it. We don't realize it. And I want you to realize it. And I never, and that really bothered me when I got that message about those in seniors' homes. Because it's true, as good as the staff can be, they cannot replace family. They can't replace friends. They can't replace outings for seniors. They can't replace, groups coming in to entertain. Now, I want to talk now about a lovely lady, and her name is Jo Cox. She was a member of Parliament in the British Parliament in 2015, she was elected. And she worked to end loneliness and isolation. The riding she represented in the north of England had a very large immigrant population, and we do know that wherever there's a large immigrant population, there is a large population of people who get segregated, who get ostracized, who get disenfranchised. And so she was working so hard against that. And here's what she had to say about our differences.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great privilege to be called to make my maiden speech. Many honourable and right honourable members will lay claim, I'm sure, to their constituencies being constituencies of two halves or numerous parochial parts. I am another in that respect, and Batley and Spen is very much that kind of constituency, and it's a joy to represent such a diverse community. Batley and Spen is a gathering of typically independent, no-nonsense, proud Yorkshire towns and villages. Our communities have been deeply enhanced by immigration, be it Irish Catholics across the constituency or Muslims from Indian Gujarat or Pakistan, principally from Kashmir. And whilst we celebrate our diversity, the thing that surprises me time and time again as I travel around the constituency is that we are far more united and have far more in common than that which divides us.
Lovely lady. Absolutely lovely lady. She had a sad ending, though. 1 year and 1 day after she made her maiden speech in the House, she was stabbed and shot to death by a right-wing fanatic. And that is another thing that loneliness can lead to, is extremism. Do you know how these extremist groups get people? Well, they put ads on the internet. Are you lonely? Is quite often the first words in these ads. Are you lonely? So people who have been disenfranchised and lonely find solace and comfort in groups that say they think alike, and they want the same things. And that's where we get extremism from. So I'm just blown away by all this research, and I always thought loneliness was just something that was to be managed, and we'll be okay. The fallout from Ms. Cox's death is quite a legacy for her. Her husband and her sister lobbied the British government to create a ministry of loneliness, and it worked. There is now, in the British Parliament, a minister of loneliness. I had a chance to speak with Jo Cox's sister, who lives in the north of England, about the work they're doing with the Jo Cox Foundation. And that is the topic of my podcast, The Happy Molecule, later on this week. Here's a preview.
Thank
like you've done, Kevin, brilliantly, is just doing a bit of research, just trying to understand what loneliness means for different people, and acknowledging this is not just about the elderly. It's not just about people who live on their own. It's about people who on the surface may have very full, exciting lives, maybe living their life through social media and telling everyone how fantastic it is. But actually behind the scenes, they might be feeling really lonely.
We've heard stories about celebrities who get mobbed by thousands of people wherever they go, reporting they're lonely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I would imagine being famous is actually a very lonely place at times, because you've got, a bit like I said earlier, you've got a huge quantity of connections, but how much quality have you got? And if you're rich and famous, who can you trust? And who actually wants to be your friend to be your friend, and those sorts of issues. So I think understanding the many layers to loneliness is what we're asking people to try and do.
And I think this pandemic is giving us a bit of an insight to that kind of life, because as a major celebrity, you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go to the mall, you can't just simply go to the park. So now we have to wear a mask wherever we go, And I find that, as important as it is, not seeing someone's full face makes it very lonely, even if you're right there. But
it's just much more difficult to connect, isn't it? It's much more difficult to connect. We've got to get really good at reading people's eyes.
But now we realize we're sitting at home when, you know what, I feel like going downtown, or I feel like doing this. I feel like going to the mall just to people watch. Yeah. And we can't do that. So yes, understanding loneliness.
Yeah. And I think that does link in to sort of understanding loss. Because, sadly, because of COVID, so many people have experienced a sense of loss. And I think it's important to acknowledge that's not just sadly for many people, a loss of loved ones. It's the loss of our freedoms. It's the loss of our freedoms, and it's a loss of our human connections. And I think understanding that and acknowledging that is really important, and having a conversation about what that's like. We've just set up some project work locally where we've got people to share their experiences of lockdown and what it's been like for them this year, all different ages, all different backgrounds, and talking about what that feels like, understanding what that feels like for yourself and for others. I think that's a really powerful thing to do.
Lovely, lovely lady. It was a great conversation. So you can see that coming up. It is available for download Tuesday morning. As soon as you get up on Tuesday morning, that episode 5 of the podcast will be available for download. I wanted to, let's see if I can do this here. Source, can I share a screen? How do I share? There it is. Okay, good. So this is my podcast. Let me get rid of this graphic, and you too. Way you go. Thank you. This is my blog from this week. Loneliness could honestly be killing you. And, I thought a long time about that because me, I don't like sensationalism. I don't like bad news if I can help it, but I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't think of any other title. Loneliness could honestly be killing you. And there's Hank Williams, who of course wrote the very famous "I'm so lonesome I could cry," and sadly he died of complications from drugs and alcohol, prescription drugs and alcohol. Being on the road, being a celebrity can be very lonely. The reason I wanted to bring in, there's Joe Cox. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because I wanted to talk to you about some of the symptoms. So some of the symptoms here: decreased energy, feeling foggy or unable to focus, insomnia, interrupted sleep or other sleep issues, decreased appetite, feelings of self-doubt, hopelessness or worthlessness, a tendency to get sick frequently, body aches and pains, feelings of anxiousness and restlessness, increased shopping, substance misuse, increased desire to binge watch shows or movie, cravings for physical warmth. I found this interesting. Cravings for physical warmth like hot drinks, baths, or cozy clothes and blankets. Now, this is important to there's an important difference to be made here. So cravings for physical warmth such as hot drinks, baths, or cozy clothes and blankets, it could be a sign of loneliness, but it could also just simply be, you enjoy that. So you need to look at it from a standpoint, are you doing that because you are craving anything to keep you from being lonely, or are you doing just because it does feel good? So I don't want you to take all of these things and think, I do that, so therefore I must have chronic loneliness. I'm going to call it chronic loneliness. I don't know what else to call it. So they're actually working on a pill for this, by the way, the government or some pharmaceuticals. Why do we need a pill for everything? We can actually solve this. This, again, I'm going to say it again. This is the third time I've said it. This blew me away. This is incredible. I talk about our mental health so much, and I talk so much, and I felt one of the hardest things was being present. Sometimes being present maybe isn't the best thing if you're extremely lonely and you're not dealing with that. I'm going to put those tips up again for you. Where are they? There they go. Because they're definitely worth considering. So staying busy, volunteering, anything you can do to have contact with other human beings, even and staying safe at the same time. You know what I forgot to do Oh, you know what, Kelly? You bring up a good point. Kelly says cuddling with cats really helps. That's one tip I forgot to put in there. Pets, definitely, most definitely. So that definitely something to consider. So let me see. There we go. What are you going to do about it? That's the question. We know there's a problem. What are you going to do about it? Same thing that we talk about with your mental health issues. What are you going to do about it? You can sit back and do nothing, and it gets worse. You know, you can hope someone comes and helps you. May not happen. What are you going to do about it? Let me see. Tammy says, I just want to read this. Never really thought of those left behind by family or not having any. Went to visit my mom every day when she was there prior to her passing. Always brought things for others, but stopped when she wasn't there anymore. Ignorance can really wake you up. Thank you. Let me see. Yeah, increase shopping. Golly, you'll be more lonely, but no money. Let me see. And there you go. Unfortunately, and this is a good point from Mary Arlene. Unfortunately, many of those symptoms are experienced by people who have autoimmune or other disorders as well, so it further complicates it. And isn't that true? That someone who is living with cancer or is living with a disease or an autoimmune disease, you know, they're already segregated enough and pushed to the side enough. Now, loneliness is going to speed up anything that is wrong with them. Let me see. Pets do help. There's Lynn. You know, the other thing I forgot to do today was I forgot to say who's new here today. We always try and welcome our newbies here today because we have a family of regulars who watch us here and on the podcast. By the way, I've had a lot of comments. A lot of you have been asking, and it's okay. I don't want you to feel silly at all. How do you get a podcast? How do you listen to it? Okay, I can totally understand that. A lot of people take it for granted that everybody knows what a podcast is and how to find it. So here's what you do. Where is it? There it is. So what you're going to be doing, we call this Podcast 101. On your phone, you go to podcasts in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Now, here's some of the major podcasts, but there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them out there. You download it. It doesn't cost anything. And then you just simply search. So in this case, you're going to search for The Happy Molecule. And then up I pop. And then hopefully you're going to listen to it. And then hopefully you're going to subscribe to it. And hopefully you're going to leave a good comment. So these are all things that you can do. It is very simple. And these actually are a wonderful way to combat loneliness as well. There are so many different podcasts on whatever you're interested in. There's a podcast about it. It doesn't matter what. So yes, download The Happy Molecule as often as you can, but check out the other podcasts as well. You might learn something as well. I know TED Talks does podcasts as well, right there. That shows you what some of the different things out there. But there are so many things. Let me see. Here's Sandy. Yes, segregated. Tough journey having a disability. I force myself to get out on my mobility scooter with my dog, especially when the sun is shining. Good for you, Sandy. Good for you. All the more reason to just say hi to people. I think we need to force ourselves to say hi a little bit more when we're walking along with our masks. Our masks are giving us a bit more anonymity, aren't they? So if you were thinking before, I should wave at that person or say hello, or I'm in the elevator and say hello. Now we have the mask on. It's almost as though it's giving us the anonymity that maybe we don't have to talk to people. I don't know about you, but it really bothers me that I can't see a person's whole face. I get my information about a person from their whole face. I mean, the eyes are the window to the soul, but you need to see everything. You need to see everything. Let me see. I wish I could remember the Mark Hennick podcast. Okay, can somebody help Kelly out? What is the Mark Hennick podcast? Welcome to all the newbies. Let me see. Is there anybody here who said that they are? Did somebody say Randy was new? You gotta put that right now. There we go. Randy says newbie. Hello, Randy. Who else do we have that is new out there? Teresa says, so great to see your face again, Kevin. I have a face for podcasts. Yeah, it's very hard to read facial expressions without wearing a mask. Me too, Kevin. Rebecca, welcome to you as well here to the Happy Molecule Extra. Teresa Cashin is a newbie. We can say newbie, right? I always worry about words that I tend to throw out there. Let me see. What's the I say hi. Okay, there's Sandy. I say hi with the mask on. If the other person doesn't answer me back, well, that's their choice. I've done my part. That's right. You know what? There you go. There's Brenda. Hi, Kevin. Hello. And hello to all of the newbies. Rebecca Weiss, where are you there? That is new. Let me see. How long have I been back? This is, I think, the 4th week for this show. We've been back, about 4 weeks. I'm new, but listened to your podcast earlier in the year when COVID first hit. I hope, though, that you are not only checking out the podcast. Where are we here? Have them all get there. You check out the website as well. The blog is on there, and there's direct links to the podcast. So once again, let me share this screen with you. If you go to the Happy Molecule, just make that screen smaller. Come on. Okay. Anyway, you go there and you're going to go to podcast, or it's actually right on the homepage. You can click right here, listen to podcast, and it'll bring you right to Apple Podcasts. That was just the first one I chose. As well, you can go here to podcast, and you can choose from many of the podcast sites. And by the way, it's also on YouTube as well. Video version of every podcast is on YouTube, so you can select that as well. And there's also a place here you can contact me if you want to send me an email. Right there. Very, very simple. There we go. A few more. I watch on Spotify. Yeah, Spotify's great. Let me see. I've only gone out 5 times. Oh, wow. I've only gone out 5 times since COVID started. I'm immune compromised. Wow, I wish there was something we could do, a place that people could go who are immune compromised that was safe, because you're pretty well a prisoner, Denise. And we have to think about that. Oh, there we go. Lorianne, I subscribe to both. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you can subscribe, it does help. Yeah, I'm looking for good numbers. If I'm going to continue this show, which I really want to, I'm going to have to start getting some sponsors, and the way to get sponsors is by showing them people are watching. It's doing quite well. And I have some interesting offers. So that will come. So you will, when you see sponsors on this show, it means that I can continue doing this, not only here on Sunday nights, but doing the podcast, doing the blog, and speaking out about mental health wherever possible. Other than that, I'm going to have to go get a real job. No one wants that. Not at all. Sorry I'm late. Catherine, you've ruined everything. Catherine's late. No, that's fine. Good to see you here. Better late than never, Catherine. We're talking about loneliness today and how serious loneliness is. And if you are just joining us late, the stats I used at the top of the show are staggering, mind-boggling. The fact that loneliness, by scientific research, has been shown to have the same impact on your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Could you imagine 15 cigarettes a day? I'm not a cigarette smoker, so I don't know. Are there people who actually smoke 15 cigarettes a day? Well, you know what? It's the same thing as that's the same thing to your health as being lonely. It can actually bring on a premature death. Your mortality rate increases by 26%. I don't want a real job. My fictional one pays the bills so far. I like that. I like that. Let me see. Okay, we are close. Yes, we're close to a vaccine. Hang in there. Yes. It's going to take a while. And it's definitely something to hope and to think about. But in the meantime, we cannot allow ourselves to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Saying, oh, don't worry, there'll be a vaccine, there'll be a vaccine. Loneliness was a problem before COVID. and will be long after COVID. COVID is just making it worse, and this Christmas is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. Remember when I said about volunteering would help you as well? I've teamed up with the folks from Holiday Helpers. They're such a great organization, very grassroots. They provide hundreds of families a Christmas every season. So they get a list of these families, and then they get their donors to shop for them. And they get clothes, they get household goods that are necessary, but they also get presents for any children. They will get a Christmas tree complete with lights and ornaments, and they get a Christmas meal and other food as well. I love this organization, started by a high school student and a university student 20 years ago and still going. They always fly below the radar. They don't get much notice. They need some help in people delivering some of these packages to families. And you don't have to go into any apartments or houses or anything. It's all curbside, so they'll meet you out there. They need help wrapping at their warehouse in South Etobicoke. So please get in touch with them, holidayhelpers.org. And if you can't volunteer, please donate. holidayhelpers.org and donate. I had a chance to be there Friday. I went down to volunteer on Friday, and you'll see some of that, what happened, coming up in the next few weeks. Okay, a couple more comments, and then I'm going to call it a night. Let's see. Loneliness is so real and feels a lot the same as depression. Thank you for your podcast. Brian, I know exactly what you're saying. But, it feels a lot like depression. I think, and I'm going to make an argument for this, that it is depression. It's almost one and the same, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's a very good observation in how it feels the same as depression. Feeling depression, unless you have, it's extremely hard to describe, isn't it? Anybody who has depression has a hard time when someone says, what does it feel like? I saw I think it was on Wikipedia, I think it was the definition, or what loneliness had said. And I love this. It's their first line, and it really puts it into perspective. Loneliness is an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation, also described as social pain. Think about that. Unpleasant emotional response. So that's as good as Wiki could get at trying to describe it. I mean, I might use a stronger adjective than unpleasant emotional response, but yeah, an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation. Perceived. So you might say, well, that person, how can that person be lonely? There's 5 people living in their house. They have a family. How can that person be lonely? They're sitting in the middle of a crowded store. Yeah, anybody who's lonely, anybody who has depression can tell you, you can be in the middle of a football stadium and be lonely. I like that, the perceived isolation. So you feel you're alone. People may look at you. It's the same thing as people looking at you saying, oh, you're having an anxiety attack or you have depression. You don't look like it. But it's in here, and it's social pain, social ache. So it's there. It's there. Let's see. Yeah, Donna, I feel lonely in a crowd. Think about, there's a lot of celebrities, a lot of very famous people who have depression and suffer from loneliness, and yet they're thronged by fans everywhere they go. But then they report loneliness, and a lot of people like that end up taking their own lives. By the way, we're going to be talking about suicide in the weeks to come. That's another very disturbing trend that is going up, and we need to do something for each other on this. I know someone yesterday who watched someone jump to their death, and it shook them up quite a bit. And it's just it's so unnecessary. it shouldn't happen. And if those thoughts are on your mind, reach out, please. I encourage you to reach out. There is an alternative. There is. It may seem like that's the only way, but it isn't. And this world would be so worse off without you. So that is in the coming days. I'm going to get you the suicide hotline number again. Give me 1 second here. It is. Hold on here. I'll put it up on the screen for you. Come on. I'm having a hard time here. There we go. Source, bring that share screen. There we go. There you go. 833-456-4566. 833-456-4566. And you see here's an SMS down here as well of 741-741. So you can text help to 741-741. This is the suicide hotline. And I don't want you to feel awkward. I don't want you to feel as though they're going to admonish you or they're going to tell you that you're silly or anything like that. No, they're going to listen. They're not going to call the cops on you, okay? They're not going to do that. They're going to listen. Because a lot of times our talking helps us understand things better when we do. So once again, 833-456-4566. That is the suicide prevention service. There are all sorts of services out there for counseling if you are lonely, if you feel depressed, if you have depression. And CMHA.ca, Canadian Mental Health Association, that's a very good one to use as often as you can. Check out their website. Lots of resources there. And they also have crisis counselors as well, and you can chat with them on text. Kids Help Phone. Kids Help Phone, mwah! These people are saints. Kids Help Phone, text, phone, the website. And since COVID began, they are now adult help phone too. Age doesn't matter with Kids Help Phone right now. If you need some help, you need someone to talk to. And this is Cameron saying, if I wanted to hear my depression was silly, I'd talk to my family from experience. Your depression is not silly. And some people will say that because they don't understand. They just don't understand. It just seems, I've been around people who are depressed before, and I've sort of wanted to say, I found myself in the back of my mind saying, cheer up. And I thought, no, okay, wow. Do I want someone to say that to me? It's tough for people to understand. It's very, very tough. Hang in there. But yeah, reach out to people who will. All right, I think that's going to be about it for tonight. Please don't forget that the Happy Molecule will be coming to a podcast, or the latest episode 5, coming to a podcast near you. Tuesday morning is when I upload the latest episodes. I have a lot of episodes in the can right now. I wonder if I might do 2 a week for a little bit. I'm not too sure. But yeah, please, I ask you to download it, subscribe to it, and if you can, leave some comments and maybe a rating. It really goes a long way, and it will help me stay here. That's the one thing, right? It will help me to be able to carry on this show and to stay here. So please check out thehappymolecule.com and check out the Happy Molecule podcast. That's it for tonight. Have yourselves a great evening. I saw someone was having roast beef there. Hope you made the Yorkshire puddings. I make a mean Yorkshire pudding. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.